We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. We're in the home stretch. It is Monday, June 17th, 2024. I have the grade book on the screen for a variety of reasons. Everything that has been discussed in class so far, all of your demonstrative and informative speeches that have been on instructor course videos, those are all available to see for grades in the gradebook. Anything that still needs to be sent to me, anything that I might show you today, and I have a leftover graded speech to show you early on, have not been evaluated. My verbal critiques, I think, are really important because, as you know, in a class this size, we can really break down content, delivery, and visuals by watching your speeches almost 2 times in their entirety. One, for posterity. Second, closed captioning, visuals available to check for eye contact, also checking if you're speaking in complete sentences. All of that matters because when we look at the bottom of the grade sheet, the self-evaluation speech critique, I'll discuss that later this week and also next week. A realistic yet positive appraisal of everything you have done in this class. I've told you I am no different than you guys. Will I record more than one take? Yes. Has that happened today? Yes. Do I get frustrated? Yes. Will I laugh at any mistakes that I make? Yes. What's going on that interrupts my extemporaneous ability? In my case, I'm probably like a chess player thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and all of a sudden I make a boo-boo. You don't see them, but I still learn from them. That's why taking a look at anything that's on Blackboard Ultra from previous years, 2020 to 2023, and I've added a number of persuasive speeches to that list, or looking at your classmates in real time on the instructor course videos, or going to my YouTube channel, or, and this is a gold mine in a good way, and we'll do it tomorrow for persuasive speech topic selection. Remember, at the instructor information link on Blackboard Ultra, I have my mass communication website. All the way down at the bottom, you can see my advanced public speaking classes and previous introduction to public speaking classes. So many outlines there that we don't have an opportunity to discuss in detail. Outlines only, Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. In this class, I'd probably stay away from Canva. It does not work very well with Blackboard Ultra, at least on my home computer. You have outlines with audio and outlines with video. There's no reason not to examine so many of these to check text image balance, design consistency, how they have improved during their respective fall, spring, or summer course. That's why whenever I'm looking at your material, I truly am, as I always say, a glass half full person. Whenever I see the grade book, I see promise of how you can improve. Will you look, and I might not call you out on them constructively, on your videos and think, oh my gosh, too many gonas, likes, okays. That's acceptable right now, primarily because you're learning. When, as I mentioned a moment ago, you're looking at all of those videos that never see the light of day in a course like this, I would save them. I would not erase them. But persuading this week is a little bit different, primarily because not only are you serving as a teacher or lecturer, as you did for informative speeches last week, but Quality persuasive speaking. And remember, I was a debate coach in graduate school at UNLV. So I've been involved in media, mass communication, broadcasting, public speaking, intercollegiate forensics and debate, high school forensics in Illinois for a long time. Quality persuasive speaking doesn't mean necessarily the hot takes that you see on sports or cable network news outlets. That's designed to get clicks. Quality persuasive speaking doesn't even necessarily mean it has to be a topic that is controversial. With that in mind, keep in the back of your respective grade books everything here: 20 points for the speeches, 10 for the speech critique, 10 for class participation. Let's go to announcements. Thursday instructor course videos will be recorded and posted in the evenings, weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, to include all graded speeches for that week. All persuasive speech videos or links to videos must be submitted to my email address, jereppert@saumag.edu, no later than Thursday, June 20th at 5:30 p.m. I gave you a little bit of extra time this week because some of you were on a field trip, but we return to the Thursday 5:30 p.m. schedule this week. I know because some of you have told me you've had some connectivity issues. Some of you have also had issues with trying to incorporate your webcam onto a slide, or you've had challenges trying to incorporate different types of slides into a particular video presentation. As long as I get them, it's not going to affect your grade. You're not going to be submitted in the grade book as a late project. Now let's move on to content. The module overview first. Everything squeezed into the window. Persuasive speeches this week, wildcard speeches the final week. I haven't talked about them a lot, but wildcard speeches can be on any topic. In all of my mass communication or mass media courses, we usually have some type of a wildcard project. In any college course, there's all kinds of data that you may have accumulated, and there's no real place to put it. In this course, for a demonstrative or informative or persuasive speech. So wildcard can be an amalgam of different types of topics, whatever you think is appropriate. Under instructor information, keep in mind that my website, which I will go to tomorrow, has all different kinds of outlines, as does my YouTube channel, with the course syllabus for the record. Let's check out course itinerary. Particularly for the end of the first summer session. Monday, persuasive speech research today. Tuesday, tomorrow, persuasive speech topic selection. Because we have 7 people in this course, Wednesday the 19th, we'll continue research and topic selection. So Thursday evening, June 20, we can have all of your persuasive speech presentations chronicled for the record, with wildcard speeches, anything that you would like to discuss the last week of the first summer session. Then, with our course speech schedule, for all of you, Curry, Davis, Johnson, Knuckles, Rutherford, Thompson, Torrance, Always watch the instructor course videos. Take a good look at what your classmates are doing in real time on the instructor course videos. And as you'll see in a moment, what students have done in years gone by. And of course, you've seen this before with the links submitted by Thursday at 5:30. Keep me appraised regularly so I may assist during your speech preparation processes. Thanks. Still in the student preview mode, here's where we've made some additions. The instructor course videos, including Thursday of last week. Now, for persuasive speeches, we have all of these topics that I have included from Summer 1 2023, Summer 1 2022, Summer 1 2021, Spring 2021, Fall Intersession 2020, Fall 2020, Summer 1 2020, and Spring 2020. I'll be showing some of these to you today, but probably all of them during the week before Thursday. I think it is so helpful to realize that in every one of the courses that I have taught over the past 4 years, those are all representative examples of persuasive speeches on Loom. I'll probably throw in a couple more, like I did last week, of persuasive speeches that were recorded off cell phones. I've also added down here, and you have a lot of speeches to look at, current examples from 2024. DIY slime and handmade felty for demonstrative. Over the weekend, I added mental health matters and occupational therapy. Remember, for all of these and the demonstrative, informative, and persuasive speeches from classes gone by, and all of these videos, including this one from last week, I would watch all of these in their entirety. I have now posted all of these videos from the instructor section, not only to my website, but they're also available on YouTube. Before we get specifically into persuasive speech research, I have one presentation that was sent to me over the weekend that is demonstrative that I want to play for the record. This is Mariah. Remember, and I will put her tab on the screen, some of you were having issues early on with an online class, just getting connectivity, then trying to become acquainted with Blackboard Ultra and using Loom and finding slideshows that work best with your template and your webcam. So double check to ensure that everything has been sent to me. But I think it's important, as I indicated at the outset, that everything be discussed on the record during a recorded class time. We begin today with a demonstrative speech from Mariah, and it is how to annotate a book. We'll do the same critique with hers that we do with everyone else, but here we go with a demonstrative speech from Mariah, how to annotate a book. Here it is.
Hi, so today I'm going to be showing you how to annotate a book. This is something that I personally really enjoy doing. I was really iffy about it when I first started out because there's a lot of controversy in the book community on if writing in a book is okay or not. I think that's kind of up for you to decide, as I did. So what you're going to need to get started, you're going to need sticky notes, highlighters, pens, Post-its, and of course a book. An important thing to realize or to know ahead of time is they don't have to be like expensive things. You could go to Dollar Tree and get them. The products themselves that you're using do not matter. It matters is how you're going to use them. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. Some of the things that people use are more expensive, but yours do not have to be. So, what is annotating? Annotating usually involves highlighting and underlining certain sentences and writing notes in the margin, such as the picture. All of these are books that I have annotated. Um, I like to highlight sometimes sentences that mean something to me or that I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and like underline and just make it pretty. That's kind of important with annotating. Not always, but it does make it a lot more fun to kind of have fun with it. So the first step, obviously, have a book that you really like or just one that you just bought and you're like, oh, well, I haven't read this before. A one way is if you do a new book. If you do a new book, then you can kind of record your thoughts as you go along. So, especially when there's twists and stuff that you aren't expecting, you can just kind of like, whoa, I can't believe that this happened. And you can see that progression through your annotation, which I think is really cool. Second step, so for an aesthetic book annotation, you should choose matching colors. So your highlighters and your pens and your sticky notes should all be complementary of each other. So with this one, I used pinks and purples. It was a romance book, but that has nothing to do with the color choices. It's, you know, as you're reading, underline anything that makes you feel something, which is what I said before. So with this one, I thought it was important that, you know, he was looking at her like that again. Okay. It made me feel excited, like, oh, oh, look, look, you know? Step 3 is you are going to write your thoughts in the margins. And it could be as simple as just saying yay or drawing like a cute little picture, or it can be an entire paragraph. With this one, you see, I took a piece of paper. It's not quite a sticky note. I had stuck it on there with tape, but I wrote over it. Now, of course, if I want to reread it, I have to take that off or flip it up, which is not that big of an inconvenience. But I can see my thoughts throughout the story. I can be like, oh, this is what made me think about this. So keep that in mind too, because, when you reread those books that you annotated, it's like going back through every thought that you have. And I think that that's really cool. Step 4, color coordinate the small sticky notes to certain feelings. So, like, green could mean, oh, this was kind of a weird thing. Pink could mean happy. Blue could mean this made me sad. Another thing you can do is you can coordinate your sticky note colors to match, like, the colors on the cover. So, like, make your own, I guess, sticky note collection, which is another way to kind of keep an aesthetic going throughout a book. And then finally, your results. So at the end, you will have a book. It'll be full of your own thoughts. It'll be full of things that you found important, and a piece of you will be attached to that book forever. So anyone who sees that or reads it will understand. And you just keep doing it with other books, and soon you'll have an entire collection. And I think it's a really cool thing to leave behind. So that's how you annotate a book. Thank you for listening.
So let's do the same thing with Mariah as we have with everyone else. In her case, it's a little bit later than the rest of you. Muting her audio, putting on closed captioning, even though, as you can see directly above my webcam, and I'm always in the bottom right for any of these presentations, we have the AI generated transcript. But let's check out her eye contact and also her ability to speak in complete sentences. very clear thesis, setting up the presentation itself. What I really like here is the creativity in the different visuals of annotations that she has on the screen, particularly the one in pink, which looked like some type of a romance book or romance on that particular page using pink for highlighter. In my case, and I was ready for this with my own visual for the day, this is what I use for, I'm looking at myself so I don't upstage my face. This is what I use for a highlighter or something similar when I was a college student. Then she describes the term, what is annotating, highlighting and underlining sentences and writing notes in the margin. And those were her annotations. It's not unusual to see certain professors or even ministers with little colored plastic markers in books or Bibles or religious texts that she shows later on, or little plastic tabs of different colors. Look at her eyes. We've talked about this during the first summer session. That's the key, or certainly a tip off or a tell to be an extemporaneous speaker when you look away. Oftentimes you're looking away and up or away and to the side, which I've shown you before. Her webcam doesn't call attention to itself in terms of the quality of the light. Here is the pink highlight that I was talking about before, where she's discussing an aesthetic book annotation. Now remember, with the closed captioning, you have it, the traditional on the left in black. Now look above my head. Look above my webcam. Is she speaking in a complete sentence structure? I'm going to let this play until the 3-minute mark because it seemed to freeze on my computer, but I just let it play. So we're just going to let this go in real time and turn the audio back up and leave all the closed captioning on.
Oh, look, look, you know? Step 3 is you are going to write your thoughts in the margins. And it could be as simple as just saying yay or drawing like a cute little picture, or it can be an entire paragraph. With this one, you see, I took a piece of paper. It's not quite as sticky now.
So I'm muting her audio. Notice that the closed captioning and audio continues to run, but the video is stuck at 257. At least there on the timer, it's still going, but on the visual itself, it's stuck. Now, I don't know what that is. Mariah, it's not going to have any impact on your grade. This is the visual, by the way, that I was telling you about before, the one for step 3, which looks very similar to an academic text or a Bible. Now we get back into step 4 and it jumps ahead. Let me take off the closed captioning. Let me pause it. Now let's just play this in real time. Look above my head. The closed captioning will continue to move. The timer is moving, but when we get to 2 minutes and 57 seconds, on the timer at the bottom, it gets stuck. And now it's rolling. I don't know what that is. That has to be an anomaly of the video itself.
Piece of paper. It's not quite a sticky note. I had stuck it on there with tape, but I wrote over it. Now, of course, if I want to reread it, I have to take that off or flip it up, which is not that big of an inconvenience, but I can see my thoughts throughout the story.
Okay, so Mariah, this is what I'm going to do. For the record, we got to about 3 minutes, and for some reason, it was the Loom video. It wasn't my computer. It just stopped. So let me get to roughly about the 2:57 mark and play that minute or so with your audio up, so technically everything's included.
Dots in the margins. And it could be as simple as just saying yay or drawing like a cute little picture, or it can be an entire paragraph. With this one, you see, I took a piece of paper. It's not quite a sticky note. I had stuck it on there with tape, but I wrote over it. Now, of course, if I want to reread it, I have to take that off or flip it up, which is not that big of an inconvenience, but I can see my thoughts throughout the story. You know, I can be like, oh, this is what made me think about this. So keep that in mind too, because, you know, when you reread those books that you annotated, it's like going back through every thought that you have. And I think that that's really cool. Step 4, color coordinate the small sticky notes to certain feelings. So, like, green could mean, oh, this was kind of a weird thing. Pink could mean happy. Blue could mean this made me.
But as you can see, that probably is some type of an issue with Loom. Let's put her closed captioning back up and listen to the end of her speech. Does she have, as many of you have done so far with demonstrating and informing, does she wrap up her points in a way that makes sense? Here's the last 50 seconds or so.
Sad. Another thing you can do is you can coordinate your sticky note colors to match like the colors on the cover. So like make your own, I guess, sticky note collection, which is another way to kind of keep an aesthetic going throughout a book. And then finally, your results. So at the end, you will have a book. It'll be full of your own thoughts. It'll be full of things that you found important, and a piece of you will be attached to that book forever. So anyone who sees that or reads it will understand. And you just keep doing it with other books, and soon you'll have an entire collection. And I think it's a really cool thing to leave behind.
Now, obviously, what she needs to do here is to say thank you, and I'm not sure she does.
So that's how you annotate a book. Thank you for listening.
Okay, good, good. I always get concerned because I'm really watching these presentations for the first time, so my reactions can be honest. She does a good job with this. Look at her title slide, and then what you need. What is annotating? Quote, annotating usually involves highlighting and underlining certain sentences and writing notes in the margins, close quote. And then we get on to the first step. The second step, focusing on aesthetics. The third step, which looks like what a lot of college students might do. The fourth step, and the results. So, Mariah, what you've seen is a realistic manner of what I do with everyone in this class, not only looking at the content, the delivery, the visuals, which we discussed, of course, in detail with the SAU speech critique, which is available at the course syllabus part of Blackboard Ultra, but the video breakdown is so helpful. How do your slides, with the text image balance, the visuals, including the font, the bullet points, the short paragraphs, your personal experience to give you source credibility on the subject, how does that help us understand demonstrating the process of full screen, how to annotate a book? So, nice job. Remember, for any of you who still need to make up the informative speech, I will be very understanding this week as well. But you can't give me all of your assignments at the end of the term. Please go to Blackboard Ultra on a regular basis. Now that the videos are a bit longer, I'm posting the instructor course videos a bit later in the day. But I would watch as many of these as possible and watch my evaluations of your presentations. In her case, there was a bit of an issue with Loom. I'm not sure, was it my end or the download of Loom, but has no bearing on her grade. I did hear some gonas and some uhs, and occasionally, as we talked about last week, when the closed captioning is up, that's where you can really start to pick up on some of those verbal elements to get rid of and try to be as smooth as possible with consistent eye contact, having a confident persona as time goes on. Let's transition into examples of persuasive speeches that are not only on my YouTube channel, but there are links to all of these that you're going to see today on my YouTube channel. So I'm double checking the audio before sharing the tab. This is Sarah Hillis. And Sarah is going to be talking about positive co-parenting. So let's go ahead and make this full screen, and here it is.
Hey everybody, my name's Sarah, and today I'm going to talk to you about positive co-parenting. This is something that is very important to me and affects my daily life. Not only am I from a divorced family, but I also have a blended family myself. I had 2 kids with my ex-husband, Lila and Kinsley, and then my now husband Joey has a child with his ex-wife, Peyton, and then together we have Harley. So we co-parent on all sides. So this is something that we have had to work on and still work on every day, but I feel like is important to a lot of people today. What is co-parenting? Co-parenting is where 2 or more parents work together to take care of their child in a positive and effective way. This can be done with just mom and dad, or with, when you get into the more blended families, mom, dad, stepmom. It's just important that we all work together to benefit our kids. Joint custody is what we should all strive for. It's not always the correct answer for every situation, but it is the ideal, what we should strive for. Joint custody is where both parents are equally sharing time in making decisions together. This does avoid the tricky, confusing custody orders that can get so out of hand and hard to keep up with. It eliminates that, and it gives you a more structured, easy to follow setup with your kids. This also shows your kids that what ended their marriage is not bigger than your love for them, because you can still come together in light of your differences and do what is best for them, and not just selfishly what you want, because of course we would all want our kids to ourselves, but that's not always what's best for them. What's best for them is having mom and dad in their lives as much as possible. Next step is happy kids. Positive co-parenting creates happy children. Your kids will be happier knowing that they have mom and dad, or even stepmom and stepdad in their life, and they don't feel like they have to choose one over the other. They say it takes a village to raise children, and that's so true. And the more kids that love your children, the better. So why not everybody love them and just leave it at that? It creates happy parents. Positive co-parenting is where you're going to put your child first, and then you forget the rest of everything else. It's not he said, she said, whatever had to do with your divorce. None of that even matters anymore. And once you realize that, it eliminates so much stress. You get to share the responsibility, and sharing your time can actually be a blessing. When your children are there, since they're not there all the time, it makes that time so much more special. Then when they're not there, then that actually gives you a break, which a lot of parents don't have. So you get that break to, make your eye appointments or doctor's appointments, or have date night with your spouse, because you have that free scheduled time that you can count on, which is so important. And then you'll have that other parent to count on too. Like, say I got stuck in traffic and my husband's at work, I can call my ex-husband and say, hey, I need you to get our kids because I'm stuck in traffic. And that's something that where we're both putting aside our differences, knowing that we can lean on each other as long as it's to take care of our children. It's setting your kids up for success. By positively co-parenting, you are getting to be that positive role model for your child. Taking that stress and conflict out of parenting is going to reassure your child and set them up for success by learning from you. It also teaches them great conflict resolution by watching you and your current spouse or ex-spouse work together to come up with plans and solutions for things, which also teaches them teamwork, which is great traits to have going forward in life. And most importantly of all, it benefits everybody. It benefits you, it benefits your ex, it benefits your children most of all. And that is why this is something so important to me, because it benefits my beautiful children, who I'm going to show you here. This is from left to right, Peyton, Lila, Harley, and then down here at the bottom we have Kinsley. And this is why this is such important to me, and I hope you learned a little bit today. Thank you.
If you listen closely, she's smiling there at the end because Sarah hears one of the girls trying to get her attention. You can imagine with 4 girls in the house, it can be challenging trying to find a quiet spot. Remember at the end of class last week when Addison Bennett was giving her presentation in a bedroom on the floor during the pandemic with her laptop behind her on a bed, discussing why she really loved being in a large family. In Sarah's case, she is in a blended marriage. She has 2 daughters. Her husband has a daughter. And the little girl on the far right-hand side with the green bow in her hair, she is the daughter of Sarah and her husband. By the way, before I go smaller here on the screen, this was during the fall intersession of 2020, during the pandemic, during the month of December, like 19 class sessions we have here during the first summer session, only in May and June. She has the 30-day trial subscription to Loom. She has the timer at 5 minutes running backwards. That's why I'm stopping it with 1 second to go on the bottom, 8 seconds left on her timer. Now we make it smaller, mute the audio, put on the closed captioning, and just check out a bit of her presentation. Notice that her webcam is in the upper left. Remember, I'm still experimenting with Loom like you. My webcam light is not on, but I know the audio is running. I don't know how that happened, but we just plow away no matter what. The reason this works so well, positive co-parenting as a persuasive speech, is that, like I mentioned at the outset today, you don't necessarily have to have controversial topics. You can persuade about anything. You can even do it on a funny topic. But what is co-parenting? Because not everyone knows. She explains it and then includes photos of she, her husband, and the girls. It's important to work together to benefit our kids. Joint custody, avoiding tricky, confusing custody orders, because as you can imagine, in blended marriages or divorces with children, it can get very, very sticky. Third bullet point shows kids that the conflict that ended the marriage isn't bigger than your love for them. So that's roughly the first 90 seconds of her speech. Now let's go to roughly the last 90 seconds or so, paying attention again to her eye contact and the closed captioning, but let's bring the audio back up for her conclusion.
Blessing. When your children are there, since they're not there all the time, it makes that time so much more special. Then when they're not there, then that actually gives you a break, which a lot of parents don't have. So you get that break to, make your eye appointments or doctor's appointments or have date night with your spouse, because you have that free scheduled time that you can count on, which is so important. And then you'll have that other parent to count on too. Say I got stuck in traffic and my husband's at work, I can call my ex-husband and say, hey, I need you to get our kids because I'm stuck in traffic. And that's something that we're both putting aside our differences, knowing that we can lean on each other as long as it's to take care of our children. It's setting your kids up for success. By positively co-parenting, you are getting to be that positive role model for your child. Taking that stress and conflict out of parenting is going to reassure your child and set them up for success by learning from you. It also teaches them great conflict resolution by watching you and your current spouse or ex-spouse work together to come up with plans and solutions for things, which also teaches them teamwork, which is great traits to have going forward in life. And most importantly of all, it benefits everybody. It benefits you, it benefits your ex, it benefits your children most of all. And that is why this is something so important to me, because it benefits my beautiful children, who I'm going to show you here. This is from left to right, Peyton, Lila, Harley, and then down here at the bottom we have Kinsley. And this is why this is such important to me, and I hope you learned a little bit today. Thank you.
The only thing that I wish she would do here at the end is to give a little bit of air at the end, 1001, 1002, 1003, because she still technically has, and it turned color. I don't know if it still does if you have a timer going backwards from 5. She's at the 8-second mark, so she could have paused a little bit longer, but it had no bearing on her grade. She earned an A. That was very well done. Positive co-parenting from the fall intersession 2020 term. Now let's go to a different presentation. Sometimes when I have so many tabs open, the YouTube video wants to start when I click on the tab. That's why I pause. And we're going to see a familiar face in just a moment. This is Jocelyn Keller, someone that you'll recall was the first person during the pandemic, spring of 2020, transitioning from our Monday night class to online, the first person to ever utilize Loom for a speech in one of my classes. Very good job, and you can tell she's experimenting. I don't know if you can still do the square. I think there are variations on a theme, but she decided to experiment with a little bigger version of a webcam with a professional looking uniform background. Her topic is something that all of us can identify with: procrastination. Also, keep in mind one of our presentations that we saw in class at the end of the day on Thursday from Francine Ansley was discussing social media and also its uses educationally during the pandemic. She had a social media topic that she also discussed for her informative speech. But this is Why You Should Not Procrastinate from Jocelyn. Will go full screen, spring 2020.
Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn Keller, and today I'm presenting my persuasive speech, Why You Should Not Procrastinate. Psychologists say that procrastinators are made by their environment and not born. 95% of the population is prone to procrastination, but that's separate from the 20% of the population that's prone to chronic procrastination. Chronic procrastination can be a disorder only treatable by cognitive behavioral therapy. It's brought on by poor self-regulation. This can be fostered in authoritarian families where the parents overregulate the children, and the children therefore have a poor sense of self-regulation. Doctors identify 3 main types of procrastination and procrastinators, here listed below. 1, the thrill seekers who wait until the last minute to get to the euphoric rush of the stress. Avoiders who are typically concerned with what other people think of them and avoid due to fear of the failure or even success. And lastly, decisional procrastinators who avoid making a choice because they feel as if it alleviates the responsibility of whatever the outcome may be. Studies have found that procrastination also has effects on your health. There's a correlation between procrastination and decreased general health. The effects may include lowered immune system, which means more susceptibility to cold specifically, susceptibility to obesity, gastrointestinal problems, insomnia due to procrastination of sleep, which can even then lead to sleep deprivation, which can lead to heart problems and more obesity, and poor mental and emotional health as well. People who procrastinate can feel ashamed of their procrastination and guilty about it. That can lead to low self-esteem, self-loathing, anxiety, depression, and it just propagates the cycle of procrastination. People who procrastinate also have higher levels of muscle tension, of migraines. They're more prone to do drugs because the poor impulse control and self-regulation go hand in hand with drug abuse. And procrastinators in general have poor health because they oftentimes will procrastinate going to the doctor. Procrastination also has a heavy stress on relationships, whether it be professional relationships like coworkers, team members, or business partners. If you procrastinate your task, they will lose faith in your ability to do the task. You could jeopardize your position, and you could even prevent yourself from ever rising up the ladder again, making you miss opportunities. Peer relationships, which could be students, project partners, extracurricular groups. If you procrastinate the completion of your share of work and lead to the undue stress of all of your teammates, then not only will they be unduly stressed, but then you will too. And that may even ruin a friendship or acquaintanceship. And personal relationships, of course, are highly affected by procrastination. In a relationship, you have to give 100% and 100%. And if you procrastinate your 100%, things might not go well. Avoiding responsibility of a task can cause the burden of undue stress for you and your partner, and because they have to deal with what you don't do. And of course, procrastination leads to poor financial decisions and lots of other financial issues. Procrastination of financial issues can lead to all of the following: delaying investment, which means missed opportunities in capital; financial indiscipline, which is caused by procrastination of budgeting, that can bankrupt you. Procrastinators often have no emergency fund due to never getting around to creating an emergency fund. They oftentimes delay crucial decisions, which means they have to rush to make the decision, which causes poor decisions and causes you to lose capital. They have extra fines and fees for procrastinating on payments and bills, like your taxes, loan payments, bills, and of course, procrastination of estate planning, like having no will, trust, or power of attorney. And lastly, the quality of work is most definitely affected by procrastination. Procrastinators sometimes claim to say that the stress of procrastination causes them to have more of a creative reaction to the work they have to do, but that's simply not true. Any creativity displayed is just a fraction of what could have been achieved had they not procrastinated. Studies show that procrastinators take longer, they make more mistakes, and they believe themselves to be doing better than they actually are at activities. Their work is often unpolished and unedited, and their quality is at times lowered to such a shameful extent that it promotes low self-esteem, which in turn could promote, again, the cycle of procrastination. And in conclusion, that is why I think you should not procrastinate.
So you can see that I'm very close to the end of the speech because I don't want it to recycle on YouTube. Let's leave it full screen for just a moment. I don't think you can make your visual that big on Loom anymore. These were PowerPoint slides, and she remains extemporaneous most of the way through. As we've done with everyone else, check her eye contact for the ability to be extemporaneous and conversational, and also check the closed captioning for the ability to remain extemporaneous. I wish you'd have taken this off the screen, but it's during the pandemic, so we had to be thankful for what we had. Let's check out the first 90 seconds or so. She introduces herself. Her title slide is interesting, Why You Shouldn't Procrastinate. She defines the term with a combination of bullet points or numbers and a definition, whatever you think's appropriate, because oftentimes there's going to be as much research for persuading and wildcard as there was last week for informing. The only difference is you're putting a persuasive twist behind what the topic is. All of us will procrastinate. When I was a college student, graduate student, I did a version of procrastination. I wanted to wait as long as possible before doing research for a project because I felt that would make my final project that much more comprehensive. By seeing what my classmates were doing, what the most recent research was, and what my professor was thinking in those additional class sessions while still taking mental notes on the overall quality of my project. I will do that for these class sessions, trying to game out in advance, like a television director, what you're going to see piece by piece. With technology, it may not necessarily be perfect, like what we saw with the demonstrative speech video from Mariah, but that's not necessarily her fault, and it's not going to have any bearing on her grades. Sometimes it's not perfect the way that we show it in class, witnessed by the fact that my webcam is gone and I'm not sure why. But I know the audio is still playing, and that's the way it was on Blackboard for videos very similar to this. Is she still speaking in complete sentences? Absolutely. Is she maintaining eye contact with the webcam? Absolutely. Having some type of uniform backdrop also helps because she obviously does not have any type of ring light, but whatever natural lighting where she's recording is not calling attention to itself. She's not in a shadow. We can understand what she's talking about, and most importantly, she's being persuasive. Now let's, as we've done for so many people, go near the end of the presentation, leave closed captioning up, and listen to her conclusion.
Means they have to rush to make the decision, which causes poor decisions and causes you to lose capital. They have extra fines and fees for procrastinating on payments and bills, like your taxes, loan payments, bills, and of course, procrastination of estate planning, like having no will, trust, or power of attorney. And lastly, the quality of work is most definitely affected by procrastination. Procrastinators sometimes claim to say that the stress of procrastination causes them to have more of a creative reaction to the work they have to do, but that's simply not true. Any creativity displayed is just a fraction of what could have been achieved had they not procrastinated. Studies show that procrastinators take longer, they make more mistakes, and they believe themselves to be doing better than they actually are at activities. Their work is often unpolished and unedited, and their quality is at times lowered to such a shameful extent that it promotes low self-esteem, which in turn could promote, again, the cycle of procrastination. And in conclusion, that is why I think you should not procrastinate.
Her conclusion, guys, is very strong. If procrastinating takes you all the way to the end of an assignment, you should, as she indicates, you're more susceptible to making a mistake. You don't give yourself enough time to go back and edit. So many of us are situational procrastinators where we wait but give ourselves enough time to go back and clean up the work. And here's a little trick that I've learned as a professor. If you go in and do some research on a topic or play around with Loom, it doesn't necessarily feel like work, and all of a sudden, you know how to use the technology. You've got a couple of bullet points, you've got a couple of graphics or visuals, video links, websites that will assist you in the preparation of any of the speeches for this course, whether it's informative last week or persuasive this week. Jocelyn, as always, comes through with a thoughtful, overall persuasive topic. Which brings us now, and it looks like my webcam may be coming back. I'm not even certain what I did. But the last person that we're going to see for the day is Talissa. We were witnessing her before her demonstrative speech. Actually, I believe it was her informative speech on sickle cell anemia. She has changed her recording style, now on the bottom of the screen. I believe she did this on PowerPoint with video, so I had to download it, but we're able to play the whole thing. From spring 2021, this is Talissa Mitchell, who also took a couple of my mass media courses. She was not a major, but excellent student. Her persuasive speech is titled, Why Should Education Be Improved?
Hi, my name is Lisa Mitchell, and today I'll be doing my persuasive speech on why education should be improved. So, throughout my whole persuasive presentation, my main topic or main idea would be that children are falling behind. So, why are children falling behind? In my opinion, children are falling behind because there's a lack of motivation, a lack of qualified teachers, and there's also a lack of college enroll tests that are only targeted to memorization. So my first subtopic would be a lack of motivation. When there are kids in school, homeschooling, any type of schooling at all, there is a lack of motivation. Some children or teens or college students or young adults need a little bit of a push to get them through their day or any situation that is given to them. And sometimes those pushes could be in examples of words of encouragement just to let them know, I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing great. You did this so good. You did anything. Any type of words that could make them feel better about themselves or make them want to strive to want more is also a good thing to motivate them. Another way to really push a student is to reward them. Sometimes the reward doesn't always have to be something physical or something right in their face. Sometimes the reward could be telling them that they accomplished this out of their class or they made the highest test score. And I'm not putting that in terms of, oh, they're boasting or they're bragging about it. No, just kind of let them know that they're doing a good job. My next subtopic would be a lack of qualified teachers. Everyone has had that teacher sometime in their life who they feel as though shouldn't be teaching them or shouldn't be a teacher at all. Me, myself, I've had a teacher who I felt that shouldn't have been teaching me or being my teacher at all simply because in the class, we were learning things that had nothing to do with the class itself, or it wasn't in the curriculum. And that also is put together with schools that are financially unstable. When a school is financially unstable, they don't have the required funds to actually hire teachers or get the best teachers that they can get. So in their opinion or in their eyes, they just hire anyone so that the job can be filled, the position could be filled. And that's on one hand a good thing to keep the school up and running, but on the other hand, that's not good for the children because when you're in schooling, you should learn something from one year to take with you the next year. And if you don't learn something the previous year, what is there to take to the next? And my last topic would be a lack of college enrollment tests that are only targeted to memorization. If you have entered college or you are entering college, you're either going to take the SAT or the ACT or any other enrollment test to get into college. I feel as though the ACT overall and also the SAT are only targeted to things that you should have remembered in your past years of schooling until now. In one way, that is good because muscle memory is a good thing to obtain. But in another way, you're taking this ACT or you're taking this big college enrollment test that you're studying for the last 3 years, or maybe you studied just that year and took it, and take this one big test that will never mean anything to you afterwards. You take this one test and either get into college or you want to get into college. And then after that, that test means nothing, especially if you're a transfer student from another school. They're not looking at your ACT scores or how well you performed on this test. They're looking at what kind of person are you? What did you bring to the table at your other school that you can bring to us? And I feel as though that's how it should be. So one thing I feel though as though should be on the ACT should be a maybe 30% of the test should be targeted to trying to figure out who that person is or maybe their character. What good or bad qualities do they have? And can the school help them to work through them? Another thing I feel as though should be on the ACT would be a section based on problem solving, meaning can you handle these situations? Do you know how to move from this point to this point without there being any problems? Are you willing to get through things on your own? Don't get me wrong, you can ask people for help if you have a problem or a situation you can't handle, but we're talking about college. You're grown, you're on your own. You don't have your parents or your loved ones always there to spoon feed you. You have to grow up and learn how to do things on your own. And some things I feel as though happen in college with a lot of children that a lot of things involving education don't take into account of is that some people don't know how to solve problems dealing with drama, depression, or even suicide because what school wants to have or wants to be known as that school that lets someone commit suicide to themselves because they didn't know what kind of person they were beforehand, before they came to the school. And that also has to go back to people getting recommendations from people and also your accomplishments list. An accomplishments list or credentials doesn't always tell someone who you are as a person. It simply tell someone what things you have done to make yourself look good. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. And then my last thing would be common sense. Everyone knows what common sense is the knowing what, why, or how you should handle situations similar to problem solving. And that's no more that you can really say about common sense is that you either have it or you don't. So next I would just like to say thank you for watching my presentation.
On occasion, you can see me checking the timer at the bottom because on YouTube, on the right hand side, I have a playlist, and I don't know what happened to my webcam. There I am. I was obscuring Talissa when it popped back up on the screen, and I don't know why. So we're still learning all of this in real time, but usually bottom left or bottom right is the default place to go when I'm recording and showing all different kinds of interactivity. But in her case, you can see me looking at her. I wasn't leaving to get a cup of coffee. I'm looking at her and looking at all of you guys, checking your eye contact. Look at this. I will mute it, go to the beginning, and make sure the closed captioning is on. Play it. Pay attention to her eye contact in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Like I said, she's using a variation of Microsoft PowerPoint with video. Her informative speech on sickle cell anemia, the trait runs in her family. She was recording off of a cell phone and used her computer for graphics. A little bit different here in terms of the way she's presenting the slides. But pay really close attention in real time. Just look at her eyes. Not only, obviously, does she have it set up where she's looking directly at the webcam and her slides, but she's quite persuasive in discussing the importance of improving education. All of you know that lack of motivation is not always necessarily your fault. It can depend upon the teacher. It can depend upon the environment. If you're younger, how many people do you know, or young people do you know, are very enthusiastic about starting school? How many of them, when they're in kindergarten or first grade, are still that enthusiastic later on? It depends upon a lot of things, possibly who is teaching them, words of encouragement, rewards. Sometimes the reward doesn't always have to be something physical or something right in their face. Sometimes it could be, just like a coach, a good word can be very motivational. But what jumps out to me are two things: her sincerity slash persuasibility and ability to remain extemporaneous throughout. Her subtopic, good graphics here. So that's the first roughly 2 minutes. Let's check out the last roughly 90 seconds. Leave closed captioning on. How is she wrapping up her persuasibility on why education needs to be improved?
College, you're grown, you're on your own. You don't have your parents or your loved ones always there to spoon feed you. You have to grow up and learn how to do things on your own. And some things I feel as though happen in college with a lot of children that a lot of things involving education don't take into account of is that some people don't know how to solve problems dealing with drama, depression, or even suicide because what school wants to have or wants to be known as that school that lets someone commit suicide to themselves because they didn't know what kind of person they were beforehand, before they came to the school. And that also has to go back to people getting recommendations from people and also your accomplishments list. An accomplishments list or credentials doesn't always tell someone who you are as a person. It simply tells someone what things you have done to make yourself look good. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. And then my last thing would be common sense. Everyone knows what common sense is the knowing what, why, or how you should handle situations similar to problem solving. And that's no more that you can really say about common sense is that you either have it or you don't.
think about the 3 presentations that we've had today. Positive co-parenting, the last speech that we had, and then improving education. The one from Jocelyn, of course, on procrastination. Those 3 are all really effective at not only being persuasive, but making you think about topics from a different standpoint. Here's where we will end the festivities for today and where we will begin tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the tab to pop up on the screen. Still waiting. I'm waiting for it to stop circling. Now I can share it. This is my Google Drive platform. It is from this location that I take all different items that have been uploaded to my Google Drive and place them on my website. This so happens to be Google Drive for the basic public speaking course. And as I scroll down, this is the platform that I'm going to use tomorrow. All of the play notifications that you see are for audio or visual presentations. But I'm going to go all the way down to the beginning of Persuasive right here. Alzheimer's, public school, animal abuse. But what I'll do tomorrow is to spend a lot of time starting right about here and just going through, because these icons are bigger than on my website, for different types of examples of persuasive speeches. And this only scratches the surface of the many, many hundreds of persuasive topics that we've had through the years. But it's representative of what we do. We started off today by checking out the grade book on Blackboard Ultra. I told you that I don't really get hung up on scores early on. It's the accumulation, 90, 80, 70, A, B, C. The 20 points for the demonstrative, informative, persuasive, wildcard speeches, then the 10 points maximum for the self-evaluation speech critique, and 10 for class participation. Give yourself enough time by watching these videos, instructor course videos, and the links that are available to previous speeches on Blackboard Ultra from 2020 to 2023. I'll be playing more of those tomorrow, in addition to spending time here breaking down persuasive speech outlines. Let's keep up the quality work. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking for the first summer session, that concludes the recording session for today.